fans, to the UFC on ESPN 14 preview, sponsored by the MMA Plug and powered by DenverSportsBetting.com, your one-stop shop for everything Colorado sports. I'm Ron Kruck, joined as always by Jordan Kurtz. Jordan, we are going to take a look at some of the key fights and betting odds from the final event from the UFC stint on Fight Island. I can't believe it's coming to an end already, Jordan.
It's flown by. I mean, when you think about the month of July, where did the time go? I was so excited when I saw those face-offs this morning in the octagon on the beach. It just kind of made me just re-energized for it. It was awesome.
Yeah, me too. It's been a great month for so many. Now you got Bellator coming back as well. Here with the LFA, we're still rolling 2 more championship fights to go, 4 total for July. It's been a busy month. And the events just keep coming. So we are going to focus in on the top 3 fights on the UFC on ESPN 14 card, Jordan, which goes down Saturday, July 25th on ESPN. Interesting fact before we get to it, this card has 15 bouts on it. The last time that happened was UFC 2 back in 1993. So the production crew is going to be pretty busy, Jordan.
It's going to be a late night for everybody watching.
100%. All right, well, let's break down the main event. Massive amount on the line in the main event as former champion Robert Whittaker returns for the first time since losing the belt to Israel Adesanya back in October. He'll throw down with Darren Till, Jordan, who is unbeaten since the move to middleweight. The current odds for this fight, and we've had some movement, this from Denver Sports Betting and also DraftKings, has the former champ Robert Whittaker as the favorite at -125. I saw it opened at -135, so some money is coming in on the underdog, which is Darren Till. The comeback on Till is +105. He opened up, from what I saw, at +115. So extremely close odds for this key matchup. Jordan, give us your thoughts.
Just like you said, I mean, it's as close to an even money sort of betting situation in my eyes, evaluating the fight, as you could be. There's some things that really have to be answered in this fight, if you will. If we take a look at where Robert Whittaker is, yes, Robert Whittaker, he's a former world champion, and he's only 29 years old, which by, the traditional linear sense, when you're thinking about it, he still has time to get back there. But right, if we also look at it from this angle, from a different perspective, he's had a lot of mileage put on those tires already at only 29 years old. Given the fact that at one point he was killing his body to make 170 pounds, that takes some time off of, the end of your career when you have those tough weight cuts at times. And he's had some wars. Being that he was a world champion at such a young age, Ron, that means that he was fighting the best of the best in the top tier competition from a very young age. And with having multiple defenses or fights while being the champion, then that means that he spent a lot of time as being the hunted and not being the hunter. So that means that those were camps that he was preparing 25 minutes for. And yes, the second Yoel fight was not technically for the title, but they still went 25 minutes.
War. Absolutely.
He went 50 minutes with Yoel Romero, who people have been on record stating that it physically hurts to hit this man. So when you're talking about the wear and tear on Robert Whittaker's body, on his psyche, he's been vocal and been open about his mental health issues. You have to ask the questions in why he's had so many layoffs or such a long duration of layoffs in between his fights. So seeing the way that he comes back against a young lion like Darren Till, or young gorilla, should I say, being that that's his nickname, it's going to be a good indicator to see where he's at. Because in the last fight, a lot of people say that it was just Israel being in his head. Well, if he was really just taking up real estate in Rob's head rent-free, then we should see it, that being the case within this fight. He should come back and look like the Rob of old, in theory.
Right. That's a great point. The X factors here are immense in this fight. I agree with you, Jordan, that Whittaker has faced some incredible quality opponents. It's on another level to me compared to Darren Till. You mentioned his fights twice with Yoel Romero, just absolute wars, but he's also been in there with Derek Brunson and Jacare, and of course with the champ Adesanya. So I think that Whittaker is, when he is healthy, is one of the most well-rounded and well-conditioned fighters in the division. Now, Till, the mindset of Darren Till is going to be questioned too. You know, he was being teased as the next big superstar. I don't think he's reached the middleweight elite yet. He could be, you know, he could one day get there, but he could also be champion. But right now, I think when you look at his fight game, he's a little predictable. You know, he'll stand in front of the opponent. You know, he'll juke and move and fake and feint, and then just throws some combos trying to land that massive knockout. And I don't think that's a great game plan against Whittaker. You know, the X factor, as I mentioned, you know, Whittaker has lost the title to current champ Israel Adesanya, and maybe at that point lost his passion for the sport. Maybe it was something that you alluded to, Jordan, just the beat downs in some of these fights and being such a young guy in the sport to go through those wars. But it seems like he was dealing with some burnout from MMA. It's at this point, from the interviews that I have seen and the reports coming off of Fight Island, it seems the fire has been lit again, and he is ready to come back and prove that he is one of the top fighters in the sport. A motivated and, more importantly, healthy Robert Whittaker is a dangerous and very scary man. But you know, on the flip side, Till seems to have a new attitude too. He comes in almost with a humble type of confidence, I believe is how he described it. And he has a lot to prove as well. So let's get to it. Jordan, who do you like in this fight?
I'm so torn because I don't know how Robert's going to look coming off of the knockout. So that being said, I mean, Darren Till has an eerie sort of chill factor, or I don't know what the right word is, but the aura that he's carrying about himself, the vibe that he has, he's very calm, he's very cool, he's very collected. He seems as confident in himself that he's ever been. One thing that we have to look at too with Darren Till, and that, you know, you mentioned some of his predictability aspects, but he is also only 27. So how much of that has been addressed? How much is he continuing to improve and maybe still work on some of those tells, because he is just that young and still continuing to grow as far as what his game is. I'm going to go with Darren Till in this one.
All right, I like it, because I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take Robert Whittaker, the favorite coming into this fight, albeit very slightly. I think every fight is a must-win, of course, but this is really a must-win for Whittaker if he wants to get another shot at Adesanya. I think Whittaker will outstrike Till, who won't have the size and the physical advantage that he has enjoyed in other fights. And again, this is really a must-win for both of these guys, but I think there's more on the line for the former champ Whittaker. We will see. I'm going to go with the favorite, Robert Whittaker. Current odds as we are recording today has Whittaker coming in at minus 125. The comeback on Till is plus 105. This is DenverSportsBetting.com's preview of the UFC on ESPN 14, sponsored by the MMA Plug and powered by DenverSportsBetting.com, your one-stop shop for everything Colorado sports. I'm Ron Kruck, and Jordan Kurtz is with me today. Jordan, let's talk about the co-main event. Man, this one, there are people that either love this fight or just flat out hate it. I am one that love it. It's like taking me back to the glory days of the Pride Fighting Championships. I mean, all we need is Steven Quadros and Boss Rutan to call the fights, and I'm in heaven, bro. Of course, the matchup is between Shogun Rua and Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. And current odds, we'll get to the current odds, but let's first talk about that. What's your take on these two really Brazilian legends fighting for the third time inside the octagon?
Yo, just like you said, it feels like we're taking a trip back to Pride. You know, we're turning the clock back more than 10 years right here. And, you know, it's kind of a sad thing in a way because neither one of these guys is anywhere near reminiscent
Right.
of what they were during those prime years. So it's kind of got a Bellator-esque feel to it, albeit, you know, Bellator's back this weekend. It's kind of like that Legends League or that Legends division, sort of, if you will. You know, you have Big Nog sitting at 44, and then you have Shogun at 38. Big Nog has only won, I believe, 2 fights since 2014. So it's
Yeah.
been a little bit of a tough go for the legend in the latter stages of his career. But
Absolutely.
both of these guys are in their twilight. And I think that they're going to want to try to go out on top, go out and do, because in his last 3 fights, Shogun has been 1-1-1. So I think these guys are trying to finish out on a high note. They're just waiting for that performance to be able to say it's okay to hang my hat and ride off on my Bronco.
Right. Well said. Yeah, this is not Pride 2005 when they first met for sure. And this isn't really even their second matchup in 2015. You said it. These guys have been through the wars. They're really coming in for one last hurrah, and I love it. That's what makes this fight, in my opinion, so intriguing. They're not in the prime of their careers anymore. We understand that. So just enjoy the fact that 2 Brazilian MMA legends are getting in there to battle one more time. Lil Nog's already said this is it. He is done after this fight. He will ride off into the sunset. And you wonder if Shogun might do that as well. He hasn't officially said that, but you get that feel that the end is near for him as well. Now, current odds from Denver Sports Betting and from DraftKings, Shogun Rua opened up a massive -300 favorite. Now, the money, as of this recording, is starting to come in on Nogueira. The current odds for Rua is -190. So money coming on Nogueira. He opened up at a +250 underdog. He is down to a +150 now. So a lot of money coming in on Lil Nog. I've gone back and forth with this one, Jordan. It's been tough to pick a winner, but I'll throw it to you first, and then I'll follow up. Who do you like? Who do you have winning this bout?
I'm going to take Shogun. Personally, I'm going to take Shogun in this one. I think that he has shown enough fire in his last couple of fights to where you can say that at 38 he might still have a little bit more left in the tank than Mr. Nogueira does at 44. Again, you're looking at a couple of guys that are, they're basically in the twilight of their career, maybe only a couple of fights left, and it, depending on who you're asking, it could be already past that date. It just, again, it's a matter of what you're liking to see or how far you're willing to see some of these guys stretch. George St. Pierre made the statement today about how he didn't want to be one of those guys who went too long before retirement as they were discussing the potential fight with Usman. Right. So it's tough. It's where do you draw the line and when is the right time to walk away? But that's the $1 million question for, I feel like, every professional athlete. You want to stretch it for as long as you can, but unfortunately, Father Time is the only person out there who's undefeated in any sport.
Yeah. And as Dana White has often said, in MMA, it's not pretty when you have gone past your prime, and it's not like baseball, you go from the outfield to first base and just catch the ball and don't run as much. It's a unforgiving and sometimes brutal sport. So you got to know when it's time to hang them up. And that's what Nogueira is doing. He'll have one more fight, and it's a classic with Shogun. I'm going to go with the favorite and the former UFC light heavyweight champion. I'm going to go with Shogun to win this. I just feel Nog is a little too slow, a little too stiff these days. And then you look at Shogun, 3-1-1 in his last 5. He's faced better quality of opponents than Nogueira. The one loss was to Anthony Smith, so there's no shame in that. It was a tough, brutal loss, but still, I think Rua delivers his signature kicks, gets some hooks, and I think he'll get the win. Unfortunately, Lil Nog will not ride off into the sunset and retire with a win. And we'll see if Shogun then decides to hang up the gloves as well. Thanks for checking out Denver Sports Betting and the MMA Plug. As we roll on, Jordan, okay, this one's going to be an interesting fight as well as the feature fight of the night in the heavyweight division. Fabricio Verdum, former heavyweight champ, he will welcome in longtime 205-pounder Alexander Gustafsson to the division, who moves up to heavyweight for the first time in his career, comes back after a brief 14-month retirement. Gustafsson, 16 fights at light heavyweight, but a couple of tough losses to John Jones and Daniel Cormier. So he's going to get heavyweight a shot. Alex is one of 8 fighters, Jordan, to go at least 0-3 in title fights. So maybe the change of scenery is a good thing for him. Verdum, mentioned he's been kind of up and down here following his 2-year drug suspension. So where his head is at is going to be interesting too. Adding a little bit of fuel to this fire in this fight is the fact that Gustafsson said they sparred before, Jordan, and he said he beat him down a little bit. Verdum says, that's an overreaction. He cut my nose a little bit, but that was about it. But the bottom line is this is not a sparring match. This is a fight. Fabricio Verdum, odds according to denversportsbetting.com and DraftKings. Verdum coming in at a plus 250 is where, 205. Plus 205 is where he opened, and now he's up to plus 250. And so he's the underdog. Alexander Gustafsson is the favorite. He opened up at minus 240, and now he's all the way up to, as this recording, he's up to minus 335. A lot of people are thinking this will be a successful debut for Gustafsson at heavyweight. What's your take, Jordan?
I think that the people were right on this one. You mentioned the 2-year USADA vacation for Fabricio Verdum, and by the look of the way that his body was in that comeback fight, I would have to say that it's safe to say that he was on some sauce, because he granted, yes, he's older.
Don't sugarcoat it, buddy.
But he just did not even look to be the same sort of fighter that we once saw. I mean, just little tiny things, little transitions, certain little, just nuanced movements, athletic things that were out there that you once saw someone as big, athletic, world champion level fighter the way that Verdum was. We just don't see that anymore. We alluded to it in the last fight about guys that are potentially past that expiration date. When, Verdum is 42 years old. And then, as we've came to know from guys who have had years upon years of performance enhancing abuse that way, it wears your body down a little bit faster. Absolutely. And then when you're forced to get off, if you're not having any sort of supplementary means to it, your endocrine system starts to have complications, which then you see kind of the deflated physique. He was out, his body even looked soft for that matter. Yeah. As opposed to he didn't look like an athlete. I guess I should say that's as simple, as blunt, as straight to the point as I could put it. I think that this is going to be a great night for the Mauler. He's a big man. Alexander Gustafsson is a very big man, and the way, him getting all the way down to 205 pounds was a challenge for him. So now that he doesn't have to worry about that element, if Alexander Gustafsson came in almost any other era aside from the John Jones era, and add in DC, that was a very, very tough fight with him in DC. But you say take away John Jones out of the equation, there's a very high likely situation where we would have seen 12 pounds of UFC gold around the Swede's waist at some point in time. But that just goes to show you how good John Jones is.
Yeah, it was a tough run at light heavyweight. I think this is exactly what Alexander Gustafsson needs. He's going up against the experienced fighter in Verdum, very well-rounded, technically skilled, comfortable on the feet, but, we know what he can do on the mat as well, pose a danger to anybody down there. But Alex brings with him to the heavyweight division a speed and I think quickness that most heavyweights will not be used to seeing. He has the boxing background, and that's a big plus for the younger fighter. He'll also have a couple-inch reach advantage in this fight. So I like those factors. I'm going to go with Alexander Gustafsson as well. He is the favorite all the way up to -335. Just younger, quicker, doesn't leave himself open to, getting knocked out, as I think Verdum sometimes does. Not sure if he'll be able to finish, but I think that Gustafsson gets the victory in this one.
Ron, I got to ask you this. If Alexander Gustafsson has a very impressive showing tomorrow night, or I should say on Saturday evening, if he has an impressive showing, how long before we see him within the title contention situation?
Yeah,
given that it's somewhat a light division as far as the heavyweights go, and he's a draw, or maybe not necessarily as the numbers may speak to it in a large proportion the way that some others are, but he's a recognizable name that you could throw into that mix, and then you could see, whoever it ends up being after DC and Stipe, and the way that turns, if DC were to win and vacate and retire, who knows how that all sifts out. But I could see it being maybe one more fight after this, and then Alexander Gustafsson is right up there in the contender situation with this division.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Jordan. I think this is a huge opportunity for the Swede. I think this is a great move to move up and use that speed and athleticism to take on the guys. I think if he gets by Verdum and does so in impressive fashion, I think he's one win away, 2 wins maybe. You look at the top 5 in the UFC right now. Of course, Stipe holding the strap. Cormier is your challenger. You got Ngannou, you got Curtis Blades, Derek Lewis, and then Junior Dos Santos to round up the top 5. So I think Gustafsson can come in here if he puts on a really skilled and dominant performance. I think maybe he gets one more fight at heavyweight, and then he should be fighting for the title. So we will see. But I think he really needs to have that dominant performance to get there.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. The final event from the UFC on Fight Island on this stint. So, going to be some great matchups. Jordan, always appreciate the time. Enjoy the fights, my man.
Absolutely. You do the same.
All right. Thanks for checking out Denver Sports Betting and the MMA Plug. Check back for more UFC event previews, breakdowns, and MMA news.